Okay, thank you. It is 5:02, so we will get this meeting rolling. I would like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission for Monday, June 15th, 2026. Clerk Borland, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hess.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman. Commissioner Pradle.
Present.
Commissioner Slaby.
Present.
Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
Vice Mayor Duncan.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Can I have a motion to excuse the mayor and the missing commissioner?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. The absent commissioners are excused. Next are communications. Are there any communications from the city, Manager Hankins?
Just briefly, Mayor, Vice Mayor, the City of Kalamazoo observes Juneteenth on Friday, June 19th, so our offices will be closed.
Thank you. Next is the opportunity for general public comments. If there is anyone in the audience wanting to address the City Commission, please come to the podium, state your name, and indicate whether you live in the city. Speakers will have 2 minutes for their comments.
I don't hear it. We come up now, give our comments, or to...
Name if you live in the city in 2 minutes.
That's ready topic. We had thought originally it was at 7.
You get comments at both meetings.
Oh. Let me help you 30 years this time of the meeting, so. Eileen Policki, and I live in the city of Kalamazoo. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Eileen Policki. I'm a small business owner in Kalamazoo. I also live less than 1 mile of the proposed data center in the Millwood neighborhood. I've had tinnitus for 24/7 for 22 years due to nerve damage in my right ear. Let me play you what I hear every day. I think you heard that. In an effort to mask the sound and reduce the impact on my mental health, I have tried hearing aids, white noise, music, medication, meditation, the list goes on. Nothing works. It continues to have a negative impact on my health. It's been documented that some people cannot handle the constant sound and have chosen to take their own lives to end the suffering. Now add on the sound coming from the data center 24 hours a day. Unless you have tinnitus, you have no idea what you're in for. Millwood has been my home for over 20 years, where I raised my daughters, and I started my small business 6 years ago. I stand here tonight to be a voice for thousands of my neighbors and to educate you on the devastating effects of noise pollution from my personal experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak at public comment?
Good evening. My name is Sarah Pruitt. I live in Kalamazoo. I am a recent transplant from Florida where there are quite a few of these data centers. They ruin our environment. They waste resources. They do not help our economy at all. The very few jobs that they supply are not, most of the time, full-time. They don't supply benefits. So there's really no good reason to have them in our community. To add a data center adds noise pollution, water pollution, it makes people physically sick. It can cause test scores to go down in our students, so it's affecting our education. I honestly cannot name a positive that would benefit our community given a data center. So I would like all of you to think on that, considering you are to be bettering our community. And if this goes through, it will not better our community. It will make it worse. People will want to move away. People will be sick, possibly lose jobs because of their sickness or their child's sickness. Again, I just don't see a positive to it. There's plenty of documented evidence to this, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to take a part of public comment?
Good afternoon. My name is David Ferguson. I am a recent transplant to Kalamazoo from Clearwater, Florida, and we moved here to escape certain things that were happening in Florida, such as AI data centers being put in, because they are pollutants that highly increase temperatures in your area because of how much energy they generate. We do not need to see the temperatures rising. They also use a lot of fresh water to cool their equipment. Michigan is one of the beds of fresh water with all the Great Lakes, and the last thing that we need to do is be polluting that water, because it's one of the best resources that we have, and we need to do everything in our nature to preserve it the best we possibly can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else looking to take advantage of public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to the work session portion of the agenda. City Manager Hankins.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Staff and the BRA's consultant are here this evening to discuss the recommended city incentives for the Zone 32 Phase 2 project. So I'll call up staff now at this point. This is a 38-unit mixed-use housing development proposal, and so they are going to present the information to you and give you an opportunity to ask questions.
Welcome.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor, City Commissioners, City Manager. My name is Jamie McCarthy. I'm with Community Planning and Economic Development, and I have Logan Mulholland with Fishbeck. As mentioned, this is the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority's consultant, and we're here also, we have Representative Mr. Jamari Bogan, who's representing the development group here, available to answer questions at the end. The project we're going to be discussing is the second phase of Zone 32, and we'll talk a bit more about this project. It's located at North Pitcher and Porter Streets in the North Side neighborhood. And the purpose of the briefing today, as discussed, we're going to be giving you an overview of the redevelopment project here. This is the second phase, and we'll talk just briefly about the first phase, and talk about the housing goals here and some of the expected outcomes from this second phase. We will summarize the investment here, and really we want to cover what the city support looks like and some of these requests that are coming forward to you this evening and in some subsequent meetings, and also what's been coming forward to our Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. We'll talk about those timelines and cover some of the next steps, and then we want to leave some time at the end to cover some questions. So you're familiar with this. When we talk about increasing our housing, we're talking about housing at various income levels. We're looking at another project here that has a mix of incomes is the goal here, and we're talking about that across all neighborhoods. And to do that, we're often looking at a process that requires us to use a variety of tools. So this project has gone through some third-party underwriting vetting, and what we're looking for is a project that both can pay back the debt. This has a couple of loans involved in it, but we're also looking for projects that would otherwise not be able to just access debt or loans from your traditional commercial markets. So this is a project that came forward, and we took a look at it and said, yes, it really does need the public to step in and be able to offer some creative, and public tools. So we'll talk about those in a little more detail, but the ones that you're going to see here, especially from the city, are the brownfield tax incentive financing. So you're going to see some brownfield TIF in this project. You're also going to see that the Brownfield Authority is involved in the property transaction, so there's a discount on the sale too, just to help kind of bring down the cost of the project overall. The Housing Development Fund is being used, so that's a no-interest loan that's also being offered, along with some of that traditional financing that's in the deal. And then there's a request by the developer and some support by staff as a recommendation to create a neighborhood enterprise zone just around this project so that there can be a lowering of the taxes over a certain period of time. Again, to help this project be able to afford some of the traditional debt that they're carrying over the project, and so that the rents in this project are able to cover that debt and pay it off over the next several decades. So where are we talking here? This is in the North Side neighborhood. It's located along Frank and Pitcher, so you're probably familiar with this first phase. It was finished a couple of years ago, really anchored on the corner here. In this first mixed-use phase is the YMCA daycare, and then 12 units of housing located right along Pitcher Street. And what they're proposing is a second phase. It's mixed use, but it really is primarily residential. It's those 38 units of mixed income residential housing that's going to be built here in that second phase. It's right across the street. And so here are the details you can see here. The first phase was completed, like I said, just a couple of years ago. This next phase is going to be combining multiple parcels that have been vacant brownfield parcels for quite some time. It's going to be transforming those parcels into this two-story new construction. You can see a rendering of it there. It's going to be a mix of, you can see there, studios, one-bedrooms, primarily you get a lot of one-bedrooms, and then some two-bedrooms as well. And the rents here are really targeting that 40% up to 90% of area median income households. For this project to be able to access some of our city tools, these are some of our zero income or 0% loans. So those are really attractive loans. They really help make this project work. We're looking for a commitment of 10 of those 38 units to be offered at rents that are a little bit lower. We're going to be able to get 2 of the units at 40% AMI and 8 of them at 60% AMI. And that's going to be locked in for 13 years, and then we're going to have up to 20 years they'll be locked in at the 60% AMI. So just a little bit of adjustment over time. And they're going to have some great amenities. They're going to have in-unit laundry, some energy efficient appliances, some of those high quality finishes. So this is going to feel like a great product at some really great rents. Why it matters and how a project like this can really access a lot of these incentives. There are some other grants that are tied into this from the state of Michigan. There's other support being offered by the county and by the other community sources. This is really an important and needed affordable housing according to the county housing plan. So we need 1,200 units over the next 5 or so years. If you back kind of into that number, we're meeting just about 3% of the identified countywide need in this project. I wanted to take just a minute to summarize, as we pointed out in the toolbox, we're bringing a number of different levels of support to this project, but this just gives you that summary and it gives you kind of the numbers behind that. So if we anticipate there will be a neighborhood enterprise zone tax abatement tied to this project, and we are assuming, the way we did underwriting for this, we assumed it'd be 15 years of a tax reduction. We can estimate that that's going to give a tax benefit of somewhere around $970,000 of city support. The brownfield TIF request is estimated to provide around $2.03 million in support. And then we have those 2 no-interest loans, zero-interest loans. That's $500,000 that's going before the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and then $350,000 that's coming from the Housing Development Fund, and that's coming before you all this evening. Overall, it's an $11 million project cost that's coming in total that will be invested into the site. We're seeing a lot of new investment into the public right-of-way as well, so we're seeing new streets, new sidewalks, lighting, things like that that are all coming into the neighborhood, into these blocks, along with everything that we're seeing as far as the new construction of the building itself. And I'm going to let Logan come up here and talk a bit about what's involved in those dollars that get either reimbursed back or some of the tax reduction that happens to allow this project to be viable.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. So the Brownfield Housing TIF, that is including about $2 million of eligible activities, as Jamie mentioned. That's primarily going to include that gap financing, so that's going to be for those 10 units that are income qualified for those 13 years of the Brownfield plan, and that totals $1.15 million. And then in addition, there are some hard and soft costs that we traditionally see in brownfield redevelopment, like site prep, infrastructure, and a phase 1 environmental site assessment, and that totals just under $900,000. The authority does receive an administrative cost during the duration of the plan in order to implement the plan, which is just under $200,000. And as Jamie mentioned, the parcels are currently owned by the City Brownfield Redevelopment Authority and are not taxed, so the future taxable value of $1.7 million is going to be the gain that we see from this redevelopment. As mentioned, the tax abatement that's being sought is a neighborhood enterprise zone that is up to 15 years, and then there's a 3-year phase-in, so it's 12 years that it impacts all of the millages, and then 3 years phasing in, and that is about just under $1 million over those 15 years. The Housing Development Loan Fund is a long-term, low-cost debt to support affordable housing. I don't know if you want to add anything to that. Otherwise, we can move on to timeline.
Yeah. We'll wrap up here with timeline, and then we'll open it up for some questions. I just wanted to mention that back in May at the last Brownfield Authority meeting, they held the public hearing for the Brownfield plan. That is on your agenda this evening for approval. So that's a City Commission approval for that tax increment financing. So you have really 3 things on your agenda this evening. It's the proposal to create an NEZ district. That's step 1, before any projects can come forward asking for any type of request for a tax abatement. Then you have the adoption of the Brownfield plan, and then also that approval of that Housing Development Fund, that HDF loan. And so you'll have more information in your packet about that loan as well. In June, the Brownfield Authority has a number of activities that are going on for this property transaction, and they're also looking at approving, in tandem with the Housing Development Fund loan, their Brownfield Revolving Fund loan as well. And they've really matched up those terms. So those terms are fairly well matched, and the repayment terms are all matched, and a deferment as well. So to really, those are matched up so that the project can make its loan payments across all of the project and make sure that the project can be successful over that term. We would expect that by midsummer, that's when this project is really trying to get all of its financing in place, start closing on those loans. And so at around that time, I would expect that you would probably see that application for the NEZ certificate, because they're really trying to kind of line all of those up and have everything secured as they're trying to close on their construction loan, and then get to groundbreaking at some point very soon thereafter. So you'd expect something like that during midsummer. And then just as a reminder and a call out that in order to receive that tax abatement, in order to start receiving any kind of reimbursement payments on that tax increment financing, any project that comes to you has to show success. They have to really make that investment in the city. So they have to break ground, they have to bring that project to completion. They have to document that they've delivered those affordable units, and that the individuals and the households that are targeted, that are meant to be in those units are, living in those units. And so we have within our our agreements, different performance standards and different monitoring that goes on at different periods. And so once those things are met, once the product is delivered, a lot of those abatements, a lot of those reimbursements then begin a couple years down the road, so that you're kind of aware of that timeline. I will open it up for questions.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for staff at this time? Commissioner Pradell.
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. Just a clarifying question. So there was a slide that talked about the increase in tax base or the estimates. I believe you said after construction it's the $1.7 million. Was that over 15 years you said, like estimate?
The 1.7 million will be the estimated new taxable value right after construction.
Taxable value, gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you. And then I was wondering as well, could you speak a little bit about that land acquisition process and what's going on with that to make that possible?
Yeah, so that was a separate purchase and sale agreement that developer secured with the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, I think just over a year or so ago. It may have been up to 24 months ago when they first started talking about this project and kind of came forward and said, hey, we want to do a second phase of this. We were successful in the first phase. We have some plans to be able to bring more units on. And that was a project where the BRA tends to engage early. They set a price, and then they do have a discounting policy, so it's pretty straightforward how they discount. It's based on the number of affordable units that a project can build into their capital stack.
Cool, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mrs. McCarthy. City Manager.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So today marks an important milestone for our community. The Kalamazoo Avenue Reconstruction Project is the culmination of a vision that has been discussed for generations. I've only seen the last part of it, so I'm glad to be here to watch what's happening today. So this has been shaped by residents, businesses, community leaders who saw the potential for a stronger, more connected downtown. And so after years of planning and public engagement and strategic investment, this vision is now becoming a reality. So in today's presentation, we have staff here who will share what we expect during the construction, how we're working to minimize the impacts of the construction, and just give you kind of an opportunity to get into the details of what we've been discussing up to this point. I believe we're going to start out with a video. Thank you. So with that, I'll hand it over to staff.
Kalamazoo's downtown streets have a rare chance to turn into something better for everyone who lives here. But to understand how important this is, let's go back. Back in the 1960s, Kalamazoo's downtown street setup was changed to work more like a highway than a city center. Huge one-way roads were routed right through the heart of downtown. If you've lived here a while, it might seem normal, but everything about the current layout is made to keep cars moving as fast as possible. For example, the intersection of Kalamazoo and Douglas uses design standards you'd see on a highway with wide sweeping turns and highway width lanes, despite running right next to people's homes and yards. This speed-first mindset has proven to be incompatible with what the community living here today actually wants: safe, lively, walkable streets that connect neighborhoods and campuses. People have shared through public input that having to cross 5 lanes of high-speed traffic just to cross the street feels dangerous, uncomfortable, and simply isn't what they want their community to look and feel like. But the good news is that the community has the chance to change it. In 2019, the city gained ownership over the downtown streets so they could begin to fix the issues that people were facing. With this, people started discussing what they'd want to see, and design concepts were created directly around that community feedback. For instance, people in the Stewart neighborhood shared how they want to eliminate through traffic in their neighborhood, and business owners downtown said how important it is that they still have parking. With all this in mind, the city created a vision for the future called Streets for All that transforms the streets away from a highway mindset into a people mindset. Instead of circulating as a one-way loop, downtown streets will become two-way, which not only makes it more convenient for people getting around, but it also helps to slow down speeds and make it feel more like traditional city streets rather than a highway. Cities all over the country have found success with these kinds of transformations. The Streets for All vision also removes the through traffic in the Stewart neighborhood, routing it onto Michical instead. The highway-style curves will be removed and instead become traditional neighborhood-scale intersections. The width of the existing roads also allows the city to give more space to everyone, no matter how you're getting around. For example, Michigan Ave, which runs right through the heart of downtown, is being transformed with more space for pedestrians, dedicated bike lanes off the road, on-street parking, and still maintains vehicle traffic flow. All of these changes to the streets are only the beginning, though. They set the foundation for so much more. With the city investing in people-friendly streets, it signals that this is a place for people-friendly developments and attracts businesses that make downtown a more lively place that's enjoyable for residents and visitors. The city is able to make this happen with some serious investment, including federal grants that give the city the once-in-a-generation opportunity that many places never get, to change what was built in the past to work better for the needs of today. But of course, changing this much doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and patience throughout the construction process, but also a commitment to listening to the community along the way. When it's complete, the Streets for All program will have redesigned and rebuilt the streets for the people who actually use them. This investment will be worth it, and will benefit everyone, from people walking and biking who will be safely separated from cars, people driving who will have more convenient ways to get around, businesses that will get easier access and parking, and the residents and visitors who will enjoy having a downtown to go to, not just through. This investment will carry downtown Kalamazoo into its next chapter of growth for generations to come.
Commissioners, City Manager Hankins and City Attorney Leal. My name is Christina Anderson. I am the City Planner and the Deputy Director of Community Planning and Economic Development. We wanted to start off with that video tonight. We think it's pretty awesome. Great team that helped put it together. To kind of set the stage for what we're going to talk about, which is very specifically Kalamazoo Avenue, but it's important to ground the work in Streets for All and the why behind this work. So between Director Baker and I, we're going to go through this presentation. We have a lot of the team here, so afterwards we have questions that can be, if we can't answer them, we have other folks here, because this project is a heavy lift, and there's a lot of people at the table who have been doing this work. So we're going to be talking about timelines for 2026 construction, some project and construction details, alternate routes and traffic calming, results of all this construction, and as well as our communication plans that we have so far. In 2026, and this has been a long time coming, we thought construction was going to start a little bit sooner. It does take a while to get through the administration of grants and to work with multiple agencies to get this off the ground. At your last meeting, you all approved the agreement with the Michigan Department of Transportation for the construction, and you approved a contract for essentially the owner's rep for the construction with Mike Whiteman and Associates. So what's going on right now on the heels of that approval are setting up a pre-construction meeting with the help of the Michigan Department of Transportation with the firm that will be doing the construction. In the meantime, we're starting to set up some of the meetings that we want to have with the community and with the businesses and residents along the corridor. So to start to talk about the work that's happening, very similar to what we're doing tonight, we have a meeting set for 1 week from tomorrow. That's June 23rd. We'll be at Metro Transit at the corner of Rose and Ransom Street to go through details about the construction with anyone from the public that wants to join us. We'll be recording that meeting, so we'll be able to share it out afterwards. We're also in the process of scheduling a meeting with property owners, residents, and businesses on the Kalamazoo Avenue corridor. We're going to be doing that a little closer to the actual start of construction, and we want to make sure that that pre-construction meeting between MDOT and the contractor have happened, so we're able to really dive into details with those that are going to be kind of the first line of those impacted by construction. Construction start date, as soon as we have that pre-construction meeting, we'll have that. It'll be mid to late July. We are working with the event center to simultaneously, once we start the project, moving from Park. To the east, we're going to be working with the Event Center to take care of the section between West Edge and Park along their frontage. Much of that area is already under construction fencing for their work, so working with them to make sure that the curbs and the sidewalk and that part of the street gets done seamlessly throughout this project. This fall, we'll be wrapping up the first phase of construction and very excitingly going out for bids for work for 27, specifically on West Main and Douglas, as well as the next phase of the Protect Grant, and I have a map that I'll show you in just a minute on where those are located. So what does the project generally include? You know, we know at the end of the day, what we talk about the most is the two-way conversion of the streets. However, there is a lot of other work being done, and much of it is underground. So all of the water main between Park and Porter is going to get replaced with this project. And you heard from Director Baker at our last meeting about the age of some of those existing pipes. You know, late 1800s, early 1900s, you know, it's time for them to be replaced and put the street and the adjacent development into this century and looking forward for decades to come. Through this project, we're also really thinking about future development that's going to happen and thinking about water service connections to the adjacent properties, thinking about laying out hydrants to make sure that we are ready for what's going to happen along the corridor. There's stormwater work, much of it coordinated between the Protect Grant on Arcadia Creek, the Event Center, and ourselves. There is work to make sure that fiber is updated underground through this project. That will impact making sure that our traffic signals talk to each other, making them smart signals, as well as really thinking about the future. So when consumers or AT&T are putting wires underground, they don't just go underground, they go in piping and what's called duct banks at the intersections. And so making sure that we have extra space in those for future lines to be run. Also, we're going to be burying the overhead power lines on Kalamazoo Avenue. Those on the north side of Kalamazoo Avenue, working with consumers and everyone else who's on those poles. Those will be buried throughout this project, giving that right-of-way additional space for pedestrians. Above ground, all new sidewalks and curbing along the length of Kalamazoo Avenue. Intersections will be updated with ADA-compliant crosswalks and curbs, and all intersections, including some right now that don't, will have crossing opportunities with crosswalks. There are going to be pedestrian islands added at Church and Kalamazoo, right by the courthouse and the county facilities, as well as down at Porter Street, where we know it's a high level of pedestrian movement around some of our entertainment businesses at the east end of downtown. We already talked about updated traffic signals. There'll be a new updated intersection down at that east end where Porter, Kalamazoo, and the railroad crossing all meet. So that is going to get redone. And so it's very clearly defined. If you are a pedestrian there now and you get your coffee at Water Street and you're walking over to Bell's to see a show, where you cross is not entirely clear. And so making sure that there are very clear areas for movement will be a part of this project. And of course, if we're moving curbs, we have to move the storm drains. So all of that will get updated with this work. We're going to be installing a few more than 80 new street trees with this project. And what's particularly exciting is that we're using a new system for the installation of these trees. It is these cells that are pictured here. This will be the first use in the city of Kalamazoo, but cities have been using them for about 10 years across the country. This system really focuses on the health of the tree and its growth in the long term, and really thinks about soil and how it gets compacted and the ability for the roots to grow in this space. So we're really excited to be able to employ a new technique to make sure that we have a really healthy street canopy in downtown. New street lighting, overhead lights at the intersections, and pedestrian lighting along the whole corridor. And as I mentioned before, none of this happens as a city-only project. This is a huge project. There are so many other agencies and organizations at the table with us and have been from the start and will continue through construction. So I just want to make sure that we're recognizing all of those agencies, and there's probably even more than this list. And so I'll have Director Baker come and talk a little more in detail about the project itself.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Vice Mayor, for this opportunity to continue presenting on this great construction project. So, looking at 2026, the year we're in right now, we're really focusing construction in an area that's east of Westnedge and continues to around the west line of Pitcher Street. What is that going to look like? So, you saw from the video, we'll just kind of slow that down a little bit and show you some perspective of what that cross-section on Kalamazoo Ave is going to look like. So there'll be 2 lanes, westbound traffic. There's going to be continuous center turn lane to allow movements either north or south, and then there's also going to be 1 eastbound lane. There's going to be continuous parking along the south side, and then there's going to be a lot of updates around business areas, things like Metro Transit, ability to pull in and drop people off. There's also going to be all new continuous sidewalk. You saw from your previous slide the street trees and the whole roadway cross section, really from building face to building face, is going to be completely updated. During construction, we talked previously about how we're really kind of working in phases. So we're going to be working in smaller block by block segments. We don't anticipate to have more than an area, probably 2 to 3 blocks under construction at any given time. So we're going to be making a lot of information known about alternate routes, also making sure folks understand when Kalamazoo Ave is still open. So what this picture shows you right here is that there's construction on Kalamazoo Ave, and we're opening a lane so that we're always going to continue to have a lane open as much as possible throughout the project. There could be times where we've got to make a utility tie-in, or there's something underground that we didn't expect, or things aren't fitting together the way we planned them. If that is the case, we'll advertise via media release that there's going to be some sort of closure, and we'll advertise what that closure looks like. I will note that there's no plans to close Park Street, so all that work was done last year and the year before, so there's been a lot of work in that intersection that was already completed, both with water and with underground electricity, so that work is all done. We've also been talking a lot about these alternate routes, the work we put into North Street, the work we put into Ransom Street, so we want to make sure folks are aware of those routes and they're aware that they can use those routes. As we communicated with our surrounding neighborhoods, we also wanted to make sure that we're protecting neighborhoods against any anticipation of additional traffic that's kind of getting pushed onto those side streets from all the construction that's occurring downtown. This map is a little busy here. We're showing different features of, little signs of things that we've done, traffic controls improvements, speed humps, pedestrian refuge island, rectangular flashing beacons. Those are the buttons where you push it and then the strobe lights come on and let you cross the street. We've got some speed bumps that we're going to be installing on Stewart, on Woodward, and on Staples. That work is going to start up here in about 2 weeks. So between now and before we go on that 4th of July holiday, you should see us starting to work on these streets in these neighborhoods that put in these speed bumps. Shifting gears here a little bit to the future, talking about 2027. The areas highlighted in red are going to be the focus of construction during that time period. Again, that section in Kalamazoo Ave that's kind of between the red on Michigan and the red that's from Pitcher East. That's the work that we're focusing to do in 2026. So you see that this work kind of continues in the corridor with some exciting work happening on West Main and Douglas as well. Kind of zeroing in on what we're doing there, and you saw this in the video that we opened up with, but really kind of taking a look at some of these key intersections and really kind of opening up the corridors and opening up transportation routes now directly to our neighborhoods. Really focus of this work is that reconnecting of our neighborhoods back to each other and then also back to downtown. And so you can kind of see there's a little inset in the upper left and a little inset in the lower right that shows where we're at today, where we've been since 1965, and work that we're doing to restore these intersections, to really restore the ability to connect to our neighborhoods and the ability to connect through the neighborhoods. Fast forwarding to 2028, again, a few years in the future, those areas that were previously under construction in red are now blue, recognizing the ability to now travel two-way on those streets. So Kalamazoo Ave can now serve as east and west. Michigan can travel east and west. West Main, east and west, and Douglas, north and south, as well as connecting those east and west routes. So trip routes and traffic, movement of that traffic is now starting to get a lot easier. And so that was a lot of the work that was going into construction planning to plan kind of our way through this so that we could, as we're doing the construction, we can open those routes back up to help move folks around as we continue to do that construction. Also worth noting, 2028 is the plan to start construction on Michigan Ave. So that's where that red line is on Michigan Ave, denoting the work starting on Michigan Ave in 2028. Looking now at Stewart, a little bit different cross-section. This cross-section is a little muted, a little bit more reminiscent of what a neighborhood street would look like. It's got single lane in each direction, one eastbound lane, one westbound lane, and then on-street parking both sides, ample on-street parking. You see a little bit of a bulb out to protect some pedestrian movements in key pedestrian areas. We've got things like raised pedestrian crosswalks. Those were on your videos as well, so those are like speed tables. Those are concepts where we take a speed hump and we bring that to an intersection and provide a raised surface to cross. Another major change that we're seeing with this two-way project is that restoration of Kalamazoo Ave as a neighborhood street through the Stewart neighborhood and into the West Douglas and Fairmount neighborhood. So you see right now that Kalamazoo Ave, 3 lanes right through a neighborhood. That's going to change, so that, again, your video shows a kind of aerial view of what that looks like. The main route is really going to be Michigan. You'll have north-south movements on Michigan, kind of the transition, those east and west flows. Kalamazoo Ave will still be open. You'll just have a trip down Michigan, and then you'll have to make kind of an intentional move to turn right, then to go into the Stewart neighborhood. We talked previously about how these changes in two-way streets, or one-way streets to two-way streets, how they support really easier trip movements throughout the city. And so we've got just a few movements today. So we're going to show you a series of slides where there's a red arrow, kind of a red pathway, and that's showing you what that route is today. So this is a trip route that's West Main, somebody from the west side area, west side neighborhoods, and they want to go north on Douglas. They want to go visit maybe somebody in Stewart or West Douglas or Fairmount or north side neighborhoods, and they have a destination that aligns north on Douglas. So for that trip to occur today, that vehicle has got to come all the way into downtown, Michigan Ave, north on Park Street, and then they got to kind of turn around and then head back west again on Kalamazoo Ave, and then they'll turn north on Douglas Ave. So this is kind of a circuitous movement kind of all throughout downtown, winds through neighborhoods unnecessarily, and we're able to cut that trip and reduce those movements. So if you're west of Douglas and you have a trip destination that is Douglas or north, we make that a whole lot easier for you and make those connections to those key neighborhoods a whole lot easier for you. Here's another movement. This is going to be kind of a trip from east to west. This is a trip that right now goes through neighborhoods, kind of cuts through some pretty high-speed traffic on Kalamazoo Avenue. We saw those movements are really kind of like highway on-ramps that vehicles use to then swerve from Kalamazoo onto Douglas and then swerve from Douglas kind of onto West Main. Anybody that's driven that route knows that that is a very fast route, and if you're not driving fast, you're not going to keep up with folks. So it's kind of a move or get out of the way situation on that route, which from a safety perspective, to have that high-speed traffic through neighborhoods continues to be a challenge for us. Looking at what that will look like in the future, This route shows an alternative on Kalamazoo Ave because Kalamazoo Ave is now two-way. Also, there's an option that in the future you can do this on Michigan Ave as well because Michigan Ave will be two-way. You'll take a jaunt down Michical, and then when you hit West Main, you'll be able to go west on West Main. Again, that's something that has not been able to be done before. Here's another movement. We're kind of demonstrating a vehicle that comes in on West Michigan Avenue or comes down Oakland Drive or comes in on Stadium Drive. There's kind of these three main trip routes that come to a point here as we're approaching Michigan Ave. And that vehicle wants to then go west. They want to go out and visit the west side, or they want to go out into the West Main area. And so for them to do that, they would have to go, again, everything downtown, Michigan Ave, Park Street North, Kalamazoo Ave, then west, again on that racetrack, and those swerve lanes to go back out west where they want to go. And we're kind of seeing a repetitive challenge with these one-way streets is that all this traffic is getting funneled into downtown first, and then it's kind of getting sorted out from there. And as it's funneled into downtown and as it's sorted back out, the emphasis is on high-speed movements and slip lane movements and kind of highway on-ramp movements, which all support increased speed and safety concerns. So in the future, if you come in down Oakland Drive, come in down Stadium, come down West Michigan, you'll be able to come right to that intersection at West Main and East Michigan, put your left blinker on, and go west. And we'll give it back over to Christina here.
Thank you. I love these little, these nuggets that we find in files. This is one side of a trifold from October of 1965, and it was used by the Traffic Coordinating Committee of the Kalamazoo County Safety Council to tell everybody how to navigate the one-way streets that were about to enter their world. And so descriptions, arrows, and this was a pretty critical part of that communication plan. I have some newspaper articles that someone is sending me to that they found during a renovation talking about this. So, we live in a very different world on how we communicate today. So let's talk about some of the things that we're going to be doing. So let's talk about communication, and let's talk about regular communication through emails. To keep everybody in the loop, we are working with 3 buckets of folks. And so the first are those that are in the construction zone or directly adjacent to it. So properties that touch Kalamazoo Avenue or are just around the corner from Kalamazoo Avenue. Very regular project updates, changes in traffic patterns, if there's going to be any sort of impact to property access coming up that week, being able to make sure that that is a regular communication that they get related to their kind of everyday worlds. We have the next bucket, which is off the corridor. It's downtown businesses and residents. These are regular updates, probably bi-weekly updates that talk about changes in traffic patterns, what's next, where to get more information. So these folks can help share it with their customers and clients. And then we have the general public who will opt in, we hope, to an email alert that they get that talks about project milestones, changes in traffic patterns, and playing up downtown activities, events, and so forth. So 3 different buckets of communication happening at different rates. In talking to other cities who have done this type of massive transformation project and consultants that have helped them, making sure that there's a very, very clear point of contact has been something that's been repeated over and over again. And so we are in the process of setting up the following system. So if somebody calls in, one may have an urgent issue or one may have a non-urgent issue when they call in, right? Non-urgent would be, where's the detour going next? Or, can I get another poster to put in my business window, or, something else? And 311 can get those calls, and we can send them to the appropriate staff member's email box, and they will get handled in short order. We have another set of calls, which is like, I can't get into my driveway. My water is off. What's going on? And these are a higher level of urgency that should not go to somebody's email box. And so we'll be working with our scripts and a 311 staff to have those calls escalated. We'll be using an answering service to make sure that those calls get to this construction management team. We'll have that available 24 hours a day, and those folks will be able to call. During the day, that person is typically on site, right? And so they can probably go out there and help manage the issue if it's one of the ones that I just mentioned, blocked access and so forth. And then, we'll be available 24 hours a day. The city's website will be the place to get information on construction, but we have a couple of other websites that relate to downtown that will be linked to this, and we'll share a little more specific information, including Park Kalamazoo and downtownkalamazoo.org. We will be relying on social media not only to also be sharing information with the general public about construction details, but also a lot of project whys, a lot of myth busting, clarification posts, celebrating the work, hitting milestones, interesting finds from what was excavated underground. All of these things will make their way into social media posts many of which could be used not only for Kalamazoo Avenue, but for future projects, talking about the importance of upgrading utilities and so forth. We've talked a lot about non-in-person communication. There's certainly going to be in-person communication. I already mentioned that we have one meeting scheduled. Door-to-door business outreach. We're setting up small, I refer to them as one-on-one, but specific property owner meetings along Kalamazoo Avenue in the corridor, really to kind of get an idea of what's going to be happening with their business, their access, and we'll be at standing meetings throughout the life of the project, DDA, Chamber, Downtown Kalamazoo Collective, neighborhood associations, et cetera. So signage, we've been working on with Downtown Kalamazoo and their new brand, our Streets for All brand, and our team at Good Marketing to develop a series of signage that serves different purposes depending how one is traveling. So of course there'll be vehicle signage, both in downtown and on about a dozen different locations as you're heading into the city and into downtown to remind people that Kalamazoo is open and ready, even though that there is construction. We'll be having billboards activated 5 locations during the construction period, and we'll be using radio ads to reach our folks who are going to be in vehicles moving in and around the city. Certainly, we'll need pedestrian signage for those that are already in downtown to help get people around the city, and 2 points that are under construction. We're using both signs as well as ground stickers that can be put in key places, like just outside of a parking ramp, right when you exit. Here's a sign, here's a QR code, and so making sure that those are scattered throughout the city. We'll have informational yard signs that we'll have about in and around downtown and adjacent locations, sharing information, again, about the intent and the why of the project, as well as how to find out more specific information about construction and Streets for All. And we are working in close coordination with the DDA DEGA to update many of these signs. These were put in many years ago, as I see a few smiles up there. These have been in for a long time and are definitely in need of updating. This is a great opportunity to do a quick and easy update to make sure that the map reflects what's going on today. So it'll include information about businesses as well as construction and how to learn more, both about construction and downtown. We'll have posters that we'll be creating for distribution that can be hung in windows at cash registers. And this has already been released, but we'll continue to work on the Downtown Business Toolkit. It includes things like pre-construction checklist for businesses downtown, making sure employees know where to park, making sure you have the right language to talk to your customers. If you're a business that has reservations or appointments and you send text reminders, what can you be putting in there to make sure that everyone can get where they need to go the easiest way that's possible. We're going to be working with Southwest Michigan First for a buy local partnership to find other avenues for downtown merchants to be selling their wares in addition to their in-person stores. We will also be creating maps for businesses to help make sure that their folks know where to go to get to them during construction. And so here is just a sample of what one might look like. You know, there's different routes depending on where you're coming from. Here's where the construction is, and here's how you can get to my business. If we do them, I mean, businesses do these on their own. I saw several related to the current closure on White's Avenue from businesses, but if we do them and we do them in this branding, they all read the same. And so whether you are today going to Park Street Market and tomorrow going to Bell's, you can read the map that you see because it's the same for everybody. And so, of course, we will also celebrate. I would love to do this again in Bell's back room, but what the celebration that I'm talking about is not a ribbon cutting, but a shovel in the ground activity that we're going to be planning for when construction starts. So stay tuned for that. We want to celebrate this work. This is a long time coming. This is a pretty exciting transformational change, and we want to make sure that we take the time to shout that from the rooftops before the work begins. And I want to wrap up with a little bit of call to action, not only for you all as commissioners, but for the community. Please make sure that you are opting in to communication lists. It is just one of the best and easiest ways for you to get up-to-date information on the project on downtown Kalamazoo. When you are sharing information, particularly on social media, share the city's information. We will have the most accurate information, the most up-to-date information on routes and detours, if they are in effect, events, and all the other stuff going on downtown while construction is happening. And finally, please be downtown. Come downtown. Come visit the merchants, come down to events, and demonstrate to everyone else it's a good place to be, even if there's a little bit of construction that you might pass along your way. So thank you. And again, we have a number of other folks here for questions, including folks from the Whiteman team, both Dennis Randolph and Megan Behammer from downtown, and traffic staff are here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Commissioner Slavy.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Really excited to see the new speed bumps in the plan for Stewart. So Stewart residents, look out for that. So excited about the root barriers for the trees. I know that was something that we talked about a few years ago when working on the Stewart neighborhood plan, but there was staff formerly, that just were dead set against it. So great to see in the, last couple years, we've changed our minds because these are going to be super good and help our sidewalks last much longer. Love to see the raised crosswalks still in the plan. I was curious about, we talked a lot about utilities, but didn't mention like telecommunications. So are those going to be undergrounded or, okay, great. Metro stops. I know that we briefly said we were going to coordinate with Metro. I know that Route 14 goes along Kalamazoo Ave. Several of those routes intersect with West Michigan. How are we, because we say streets for all, right? And we didn't really talk about public transit here. How are we communicating beyond just directly with Metro Transit, but to our bus riders here in the city during construction? And how is this impacting any routes after construction has been completed and we go to two-way streets?
Sure. So thanks for that question. Metro Transit has been an important partner at the table with us throughout the design of the project, as well as we gear up towards construction. Even without this major project, we do bi-weekly coordinating construction meetings with Metro Transit, with Consumers Energy, with city staff, every 2 weeks that talk through what's happening. Do we know do we know when that starts? And that allows folks like Metro Transit who are in those calls, as well as our economic development team, I apologize for not saying that, to go out to businesses, go out to riders to know when things are shifting and changing. So we have been in constant communication with them. They are aware that this is going to impact some bus routes, right? In the future, when all is said and done, we're going to have two-way streets. And so on those streets that have bus routes, including things that run on South and Lovell, things that run on the Spaghetti Bowl in the future, Metro Transit is aware of all those and keeping those in their plans so they can make the necessary changes when the time comes. One thing that made me, that sparked something when you were talking, Commissioner Slaby, is, making sure that we're thinking about all the places, right, that we can put communications. And so inside a bus might be one of the places that we need to be thinking about in the future. For QR code, here's how you get the latest information. What does this look like? We have talked with Metro Transit about bus shelters and what the possibility is of bus shelters for sharing information as well.
Great. I wondered too, with you saying providing communications within the buses themselves, I love that we're thinking about having a business toolkit that I'm sure is publicly available for any business to download. And so it makes me think, is it possible to have something like that with similar language that we can promote out to our rideshare drivers for Lyft and Uber, if they would like to include that inside their vehicles? It's something free they can download online as well, because they're also part of Streets for All. When thinking about communications on that topic, I know we can't have an exhaustive list of partners here, and I definitely know that they're involved, but can you talk more about Discover Kalamazoo, also working with Radisson? We have so many visitors downtown. They're someone that's not going to necessarily be part of our communication list. How are we making sure that they get that information when they choose to visit Kalamazoo?
Yep, so both Greenleaf and Discover Kalamazoo have been in meetings with us as we have prepared for this construction day, and we continue to work with them over the next few weeks prior to the shovel actually goes in the ground to make sure that they have that information and know where, through what lists that they have and how their normal communication channels. So the information will be there as well.
One last location, again, thinking about Streets for All, we are the second highest visited train station in the state. So thinking through, while we do own the train station as a city and we sublease it to Metro, neither parties are really thinking about inside communications for everyday users of Amtrak. So how are we leading that effort or working with Amtrak to ensure there's communications within that facility?
So we'll be working with Metro Transit when we have the posters printed to have that information up inside the transit building, both for Amtrak users as well as for those that are coming in waiting for, that arrived early and waiting for a bus.
Great. And last question, when thinking about these detours, I know things will emerge, so we'll be adaptable. When we have the arena ready to be opened and having events, other private development happening, do we have that locked in yet, or are we just waiting and seeing what comes up in terms of detours?
So I'm not 100% sure what you're asking, but I will start, and then Director Baker will probably jump in. So first, we technically don't, and it's my fault because I said the D word. There technically aren't detours for Kalamazoo Avenue work, for the work on Kalamazoo Avenue itself, because Kalamazoo Avenue will always have one lane open outside of, unexpected things, and then we would have detours. So it's alternate routes. We will have to close the north-south streets in a cadence along the street, and there would be detours when we have to do some short-term closures to pull utilities across those streets. We have been working in really close concert with the event center team, and so when they open, when they start to pull back their construction fencing that goes out into the right-of-way, we're in lockstep on how that will happen. We know of other development projects that are about to start or will be starting, and so when they come to site plan, we're having conversations about what lane closures they might need and how those would impact construction. And so it's all being thought through as the work is happening. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Well, and if I could clarify, because you had mentioned you didn't really understand what I was saying, so just in case this helps Director Baker, I'm thinking about, the event center, we know there's going to be tons of traffic down there, both foot and car traffic. Is this going to impact kind of their parking arrangements or just ideas around circulation? Even if we close it, even if we allow for one lane of traffic at all times, with an influx of visitors in any given moment on an evening or weekend, people are already concerned about the increase in volume and the reduction in lanes. While I think we'll have tons of capacity to allow for existing and future volume, in those moments during construction, I could see that there may be bottlenecks. So just thinking through the communications around, if there's a night, we know there's going to be some kind of event at the event center because it's already open, but we have a couple of those lanes closed because we're still in construction. How are we working with them to communicate the best solution for people that are coming out of there and other people that may not even be doing anything in relationship to the arena and just trying to get around? How are we looking at that circulation?
Yeah, so a couple things first. So at the end of 27, well, let's just flip to 28. The event center's opening fall of 27. So Kalamazoo Avenue will be done fall of 27. So good news there, right? Michical will be done. And so when we start construction in 28, Kalamazoo Avenue, Michical, West Main, Douglas are done in all two-way. We're working on Kalamazoo in the Stewart neighborhood, which is a bit cut off from the event center. We will be working on Michigan Avenue. Now, Michigan Avenue is 2 years out, so we don't quite have the level of detail that we have for Kalamazoo Avenue. But when the time comes, we will be working with the event center to make sure that as they're, in the same way that we're working with businesses now, you have e-tickets, what's the information on parking, where does that go? I think that there have been so many conversations, and there'll continue to be conversations that the groups remain in lockstep to make sure that we're sharing that information. But Kalamazoo Avenue will be done, and we will be a block south of them on Michigan Avenue, which will certainly have some level of impact for folks depending on what way they're coming to the event center. Sorry.
No, I think that hits on the points very well. I would just add there are some specific coordinating events or things that we're doing in the Kalamazoo Ave construction to accelerate the area in front of the event center. Including we're looking at work scope and specific work projects that we may bring some more coordination forward to the City Commission. That could include breaking off a portion of this work and having it executed by the event center contractors so that they're kind of working continuously behind the curb and out into the street while our contractors kind of working on Westnedge and areas back to the east, or Park Street and areas back to the east. So we don't have those details, fully baked yet at this time, but those are some of the things that are considering. Also, as we transition between fall 2027, I'll just back up one slide, see what that looks like, to 2028, that's kind of right in the window when the event center opens. And again, really kind of coordinating the finishing touches on Kalamazoo Ave and coordinating those cross streets. There's been a lot of work completed already on Park and already on Westnedge, so that when the event center opens, those routes are ready to go, ready to support that traffic. That all said, I think we can look at this 2028 map and still recognize that there's anticipation for work on Michigan Avenue, and so some of this work continues. And I did make the comment during our last City Commission meeting that we are going to be in a space in the future where the event center is open and it does continue to be construction downtown. So we just continue to ask for community patience and continue to ask the community to support us and support downtown through that work.
I just want to say my only continued concern that I have when I see construction being done downtown is not a really good follow-through on sidewalk detours, especially for those in wheelchairs. And I just want to, even when I was thinking about how they had to close down that portion of the sidewalk near Rose and Lovell for for Factory Coffee, well, for the Rose Street apartments, there was literally no signage to tell us, to cross ahead of time. And so I could see that however, whatever comes up with potential staging or construction near the sidewalks could pose opportunities for us to really think through some thoughtful detours for people, and not just simply, hey, it's closed, find a way, but really working with the contractor and stakeholders in that immediate space to provide a safe and accessible route for people, whether they're looking at whether they're on a communication list or not. In the moment, if you're in a wheelchair or have restricted mobility, or you're just trying to get around, I've just experienced firsthand and with others difficulty in navigating the city. So I know we'll all have grace and patience during construction, but some people really do need more help to get through that city, and I hope that we can think through that thoughtfully.
Any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Prado.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you so much for you both for sharing all these updates and information with us. That was one item I wrote down as well, is just the accessibility, and I'm hoping we can keep hypervigilance on that, because sometimes I think we even do plan it out, and it's like, okay, can't use this side of the sidewalk, please use other side, but then there might be a truck parked in front of the other side access point, right? And so I know that's hard to control when you have contractors and whatnot, but I hope we as a city can all just work together to try to identify those gaps, I guess, or barriers that exist as much as possible. I also put down as well about the visitor concern, and I wonder if there's an opportunity similarly to how we have a business toolkit to maybe offer like a visitor organizer toolkit, because if you're USTA boys 16, 18 at K College and you have thousands of people showing up to town, it'd be great to give them those tools so they don't have to create them themselves as well. I was wondering if you can speak a little bit about this as well. I know this is not immediately related to this work, but I guess the work and thought that's been done to reduce the truck or semi-traffic through downtown in the north side, and how that might look or feel differently. I've heard some people share concern about, well, how are you going to downsize or have like one lane open when you have semis barreling through downtown still and whatnot?
Sure, Commissioner Prado, I can speak to the questions here. So there's been a lot of work and projects that have been kind of occurring in the background that are really helping to support this work. And so a lot of this started when the transfer occurred back in 2019, when M43 was no longer signed through downtown Kalamazoo. So that kind of started this momentum, and there's been a very significant project just recently completed on US 131 that allows now north and southbound 131 into the 131 business loop connection kind of into downtown. And so what that does is that provides heavy-duty truck access via I-94 and via 131 to exit ramps, and then to direct access via exit to Douglas and to Mazel and to Westnedge north of Kalamazoo. And that provides then truck route access to some major manufacturing facilities that are on the north side of Kalamazoo, that they can go direct to those facilities from 131 to Douglas to Mazel to Pitcher to their facilities. That route that I just described does not enter into the city of Kalamazoo. That actually enters through Kalamazoo Township and then stays north of there. We're also continuing to work with our partners at MDOT and across state agencies to look at increased signage in the future to help route some of these trucks to where they want to be. So that work continues. And we've been working with our traffic division to identify new truck routing maps and to get those out there. That all being said, there still are businesses, there still are vendors here in Kalamazoo on Michigan Avenue, on Kalamazoo Mall even, that need trucks to serve their business needs. So there's bread trucks, beer trucks, grocery trucks, things that have to be on these streets. And so we're also working to make sure that those trucks that need to be here can be here, and that they've got routes that they can get to where they need to be, including during construction. But if a truck just needs to go to a factory and they have been just driving through Kalamazoo because that's kind of the old habit, we would encourage that there are some better, more dedicated, optimized routes for them available.
I appreciate that. I just thought it'd be worth lifting up those efforts as well, because it's a pretty integral component to all this work that's happening, like you said, it has been happening for a long time. I know that that interchange had been long a wish for the region, and so that has finally happened. Second question for you, I just want to make sure I clarify my understanding about this timeline. So for 2026, everything remains the same, one-way traffic. 2027 remains one-way traffic. Does it switch to two-way traffic immediately once that work's done in 2027, or does the two-way conversion begin in the 2028 season of construction?
So there'll be two-way conversion occurring. I'm going to ask Phil here? Do you want to? Okay. So it sounds like 2027, as soon as it's done, we'll have the ability to open that up to two-way.
So at the end of 2027 construction season, people can anticipate it, but it'll be two-way ready for 2028, basically.
Correct. The major benefits really occur in 2028 when you see kind of that blue routing that occurs there.
Another question for you as well. I've heard just anecdotally, I was part of Kalamazoo Area Transportation Study, CATS, for a couple of years and participated in that. And I just remember hearing quite frequently that whenever there's any railroad crossing with a construction project, that it can be somewhat nightmarish to coordinate those efforts or work with them. Is that pretty synchronized for this work, or are there any concerns about that coordination with the railroads?
So the railroads are partners, through this work. Certainly you'll see there's a crossing kind of elimination that's occurring here in Kalamazoo Ave, and then a crossing that's getting kind of moved for that area there. So certainly this requires a lot of coordination, a lot of lead time to get all those items in place. The engineering teams have been working on that. I don't know if Phil's got any additional comments on that railroad coordination through this project and what that looks like. I know there's also utility coordination. We've got some utilities there. And we've got another project we're also working on, that Protect grant. It's a $38 million stormwater project. That project also involves railroad crossings as well. And I know the engineering teams have been working to coordinate on that.
And then lastly, just a couple questions about the communication as well, efforts. You'd mentioned having some sort of like opt-in type system for the general public. And is that opt-in just like email, or are you envisioning maybe having like a text notification sign up offering for folks if they wanted something like that?
That's a great question. Right now, we are not using text. We're going to use email. We remain open to it, and we will monitor to see how things go, if that is something that we need to adjust for in the future. But right now, it's an opt-in and it's email.
Cool. And then you would have mentioned also about the biweekly communication to the folks near construction, or who reside along the construction, but also to the nearby businesses. And would that be predominantly email communication updates biweekly?
Yeah, so these communications that we talked about from these three different buckets are email. These are in addition to, regular door knocking that will probably happen along the corridor as construction occurs to check in. It's a little harder to check in with residents. We might be able to check in with a manager of a building. But yeah, these are all referring to email communications.
Cool. And then just the last question, this is Commissioner Slaby. I think you spoke about this, about whether the utilities would be buried. Are the utilities, so like say if it's telecommunications, fiber optics, those sort of wires and stuff that are going to be buried, electrical wires and whatnot, are those accessible without having to dig up in the construction plans? So you know how sometimes there are like road covers, like manhole covers, that you can access those types of utilities underneath without having to dig up the whole roadway.
Yes, that's the intent. I was going to go back to the side. Yes. So there have been a number of coordinating efforts underway already between us and Consumers Energy. There's also coordinating efforts happening with AT&T and some of the other fiber providers. So everybody's going to be going underground, as we say. So some of the infrastructure may be pretty robust. Like when we talk about Consumers Energy, there's going to be some, they call those vaults, but they're pretty big structures. They're going to be in the ground. Those structures are a little bit smaller, a little bit more nuanced as we go down the fiber optic realm into the kind of internet service provider access. Those are smaller boxes that are up in the sidewalk. The intent is, and this goes for water services and hydrants as well, is that we're going to be building kind of this infrastructure backbone within Kalamazoo Avenue, making some assumptions on some future service needs of businesses along that corridor. We know what the needs are at the event center. Those are getting built out right now. We know what the needs are for the county. Those are in the process of getting built out right now. As we kind of move east, it gets a little bit more nuanced. So there's some things that we're going to be doing with those service connections to make sure we've got kind of an ability to tie somebody in with limited interruption into the roadway cross section. And we're really kind of planning for the future. And that goes for electric, that goes for AT&T, that goes for fiber, the water utility, everybody. That all being said, we can't always plan or vision everything in the future. So if there's some new use 8 years from now in a space that wasn't previously envisioned to serve that kind of customer, that kind of client, or that kind of facility, there could be some limited need to go underground. Again, all this infrastructure is going to be new. It's going to be built to be resilient and redundant. That all being said, there's not a guarantee, certainly not a 100-year guarantee, that we're not going to have to get in there and perform some maintenance.
Sure.
So there's going to be some maintenance needs in the future, but overall we are planning to limit disruptions in Kalamazoo Ave in the future.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Commissioner Hess.
Sure. Gosh, thanks. Students at Kalamazoo College for 25 to 30 years have been begging for this project. It's like a game of Frogger trying to get on their house on Douglas over to campus, and I've seen more than one upside-down vehicle on West Main that missed the curve. And so thank you for that work. I continue to believe we're a yes and community. Yes, we know about this, and we're doing something about it. And now we have the funding and we have the will, but it does take a team effort. Thank you to you and your team. Dennis, thank you. Thank you, Whiteman. Thank you, everybody who's working on this project. It's going to take all of us. It's a heavy lift. I love the video. How can we put that out? Is that out on the web yet? How can we get that in the households of everyone in Kalamazoo so they understand Streets for All?
It will be out after this meeting. So we'll be getting it up tomorrow. We want to show it here first. But yes, we'll be sharing it widely starting tomorrow.
Great, thank you. And again, that gives us a why. And I think it's important that everybody has a why we're doing this and what, oh, that makes sense. And then they're more, and so Commissioner Slaby, Commissioner Pradel, thank you for those questions. The only, I wonder if we would have access to a construction cam on Kalamazoo Avenue as that's happening. Is it possible to a live, like there's a beach cam at South Haven for Pete's sakes. Is it possible to get a construction cam out there so people can kind of know what's going on? Is that too much?
I think we might talk about that with our teams, our communication teams. I know we've done that on some other projects. Maybe not continuous real time all the time, but maybe updates of every day there's a picture and you can kind of see the progress as it goes. But certainly we'll take that back and have some discussions on our capacity and capabilities there.
Thank you for that. And then Stewart, the Kalamazoo Avenue in the Stewart neighborhood, is that a surface-only project? Are we going underground? Is our lines going to be buried along there? Is it just surface right there?
There are underground needs there too, specific to utilities. I'm going to ask Phil. Just stormwater is the underground work that's occurring there. So there are overhead wires through the Stewart neighborhood, but those are smaller, like we call distribution voltage wires. The stuff on Kalamazoo Avenue is, some HVD, high voltage distribution. So it's what you see on Kalamazoo Ave just serves the local area.
Okay, so we're going to have to continue to have overhead along the Stewart neighborhood?
In Stewart, yes.
Okay, and so, but we're not going to be digging it up fully? Are we going to be digging Kalamazoo Ave in Stewart neighborhood up?
There will be some excavation. There's going to be some movement of the curb and gutters, so there's storm sewer work. There's also going to be things like speed tables. So those require excavation as well. That same construction concept of maintaining the lane of traffic is going to continue to be used throughout Stewart as well.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, staff. Now is the time for commissioner comments, with the understanding that at the 7 p.m. meeting, you will have a moment for that as well. Any commissioners? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.